Hello and welcome to Hollie's Hot Takes, where with international break, I thought I'd kind of mix it up a little bit. Rather than me just talking at you guys and you ask me questions, I thought I'd be joined with a guest. And I'm so excited to introduce Antony from Let's Talk TV. Antony, how are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, actually. I mean, we spoke just before, the sun's shining both where we are, which is fabulous.
It's a gift. It's a total gift.
It is. And Spurs aren't ruining our mood at the moment, which is even better.
No, they're not. But the U.S. men's national team, their youth team, we didn't qualify for the Olympics again.
Oh, no.
Which is just like, it just feels like, just give me Spurs back. I'd rather be sad about Spurs.
Yeah, I can kind of feel that sentiment. It feels weird not actually minding at the telly for once. But
for
there
sure.
We go. So with no game, we've actually got nothing to really dissect and all that kind of jazz. But there's been some big news about Gareth Bale in recent days, and that is him coming out and saying that after he's had his stint with Tottenham, trying to get his fitness back up, he'll be going back to Wales. Now, there's a lot of Spurs fans that have kind of taken this the wrong way. Do you think it's kind of been taken out of context, or do you think actually, why have you used this as a fitness break?
Yeah, I think it was a little bit taken out of context, or at least a little unfair, right? Because, obviously it seems like he's having some trouble with Jose Mourinho. And I feel like, what he was saying about getting to international break, having a little bit of a mental break from what's going on at the club. Yeah, that does feel kind of like harsh, like, hey, bud, this is our club. We love our club. But at the same time, I think it's true that he is not our player. He is on loan here. And so he has to kind of toe the line, or the party line, that he's a Real Madrid player, and technically he can't decide whether or not he stays or goes. And so by contract, he could be here for another year, but he is a Real Madrid player. So I feel like it was a little harsh, but I can kind of understand, though, the feeling of like, I would much rather hear him say, I want to be back here again for a second year.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same. And I also think his agent and him are very good in the sense that they kind of know what they're talking about. And I think they didn't want to kind of overstep the mark. But us as Spurs fans, we're very passionate, and we never really want to see a player with that history at the club come out and say something like that. So totally. I think it was turned out of context slightly, but I think it's quite funny in the sense that he's obviously come out of this, and now you can kind of put two and two together. I mean, I said a few months ago to anybody that's watching currently that I thought that's probably why he's come back, because it's a perfect opportunity for him to get his fitness up. He's never going to do that at Real Madrid.
Totally.
But saying that, would you like him to stay at Tottenham, or has there got to be a few changes in terms of him, i.e. his contract and things, for him to stay?
Yeah, my heart says I want him to stay, of course. I feel like he had his performances on the pitch have not been, of course, what I want him to be in terms of the Gareth Bale that we've seen. That is just a game changer. Every time he gets on the field, he would change games for us. Before he went off to Madrid. Now he's an older man. He hasn't played for years, and he has played, but it's just not in the same intensity. And so I feel like I would like to give him that second year. It would be awesome if we could figure out some sort of reduced funds. I know they're already, I think they're 60% or something like that, which is huge. But we cannot afford to pay someone, especially his wages, just to have him sit on the bench or not even make the squad.
Yeah, it is true. I think if I have to really reason with myself, it would have to be a cut of his wages.
Yeah.
But again, the amount of money Daniel Levy's made on shirt sales. I mean, I was silly enough to go out and buy a Bale shirt. I think we've all done that.
Of course. Yeah. And that's what I mean. It's like, and you think about the players that we've got like that. You got, Sonny as well. I've been thinking about him for the summer and his whole contract situation. And you're just like, he's effective on the field way more than Gareth Bale is. But yeah, his shirt sales, Bale's shirt sales. And I think it would be a little bit different too if fans were able to attend the matches. I just have a feeling that Gareth Bale's confidence is kind of garnered from the things that are going on around him. And if he could hear the fans singing his name, I think he might be willing to go in for some challenges that he's not going in for now, and take off down the pitch in ways that we remember from old.
Yeah, I fully agree. And I think that's a running theme with all teams at the moment, not
Yep.
just including Tottenham. I mean, we've seen Anfield this season go from the what's it called? I
Oh
don't know,
yeah.
the fortress to
Right.
being smoked.
Yeah.
So it's a mad one. But
Yep.
the funny thing is, obviously, because you're here as well, I feel
Mhm.
like the Gareth Bale move was kind of like Alex Morgan's with the women's side.
Yes,
It's the
totally.
same kind
Oh
of
yeah,
thing.
as an American, I'm not joking. I was okay. So I have so many kids and whatever, and my wife is like, okay, you have enough, and it's like there's always a need for one more. But when she joined, I was like, oh my gosh, this is perfect. I can buy the kit for her. And it'll be and she was only here for what, like a vacation or a holiday, as you would say, and she I think she scored a goal or two, but it was for her fitness. It's the same kind of thing. It sells shirts, it's for her fitness. And I with Gareth Bale, you would, because of his class and what he is able to do, or was able to do, I kind of hope it's not just a vanity purchase or a vanity loan.
Yeah, that's the thing. And it's kind of what Phil says. We know he's class. He's got it. I mean, when he came on and scored that overhead kick for Real Madrid in the Champions League final, he's got moments of magic in him. Totally. It's like you say, if the fans are there screaming his name, we could see a whole different vision of Bale.
True.
And the fact he's getting fitter now, I mean, we probably will see the best of him in the Euros for Wales. But again, it's just a shame that obviously with everything that's been going on this year, that we haven't maybe seen the best of Bale yet. But I totally agree with you.
I feel like too, one thing that I've not read much about, and I would love to know, is like, what is the mental health world of those guys right now? I know they're professional sports stars, but their world is just turned upside down as much as our world, in the sense of like we're all experiencing this for the first time together. We've never gone through something like this, and the effect that it's having on the pitch, like you said, Anfield and others. I just wonder. It really, I think, shows the class of guys like Harry Kane and Heung-min Son, who have no one behind them and are willing to put in match after match, break records, score goals, get assists. It's absolutely amazing. They're high flying. But then you wonder about guys like Steven Bergwijn or Carlos Vinicius, or some of these guys that they're struggling to find their feet. I just wonder if it's part of that mental game as well.
And it's true that you mentioned that, because I've never really kind of thought it like that. You've kind of got to imagine that players are humans as well. And it's quite nice that you've kind of put that spin on it, because I never really thought of it in that way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, dude, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what it's like for everyone. Everyone's job, I feel like, has changed in some way, or people have lost their jobs and all sorts of different things. And I feel like when it comes to Spurs, their jobs have changed like dramatically. I mean, the number of games, particularly for Spurs, that we've had to play since the start of the season just to get into Europa. And that just makes me so much more mad that we're out, because it's like we played so hard to get in, win those games, and then to be knocked out the way we did. It just it feels like West Ham all over again. But we have played so many matches. Those legs have to be tired. What they're, even with Christmas, when you had Sergio Reguilon, having the Christmas party with was it Lamela and Gio? It's like, but you kind of understand it. Like they're kind of punk kids. It's like, you guys, come on, you can't do this. But they're wanting to see other people, just like everybody else in the world.
It's just frustrating, because I was one of the people that kind of called out on it, because I don't know, for me, I'd sit there and think, well, I can't do that. You're in the perfect byline. Like it's a madness. I know what you're saying. Like, you're not supporting them or anything. You're just kind of saying, look, they are kids. And I probably know people younger, my age, and probably around the same age as the likes of Dier, that have probably bended the rules, so to speak. So I can kind of see what you're saying. I've got a question from Nippon here about what state are you from, Antony? Tell everyone.
I'm from Michigan. It's people from Michigan they show where they're from by using their hand, because we're the mitten state.
I like it. I've learned something new today.
Yeah.
But that's good. What was I going to say? So obviously you've mentioned the likes of Harry Kane, and I think that's another big topic, because this time of year, when the Euros or say international break is happening, that line comes out every time on Sky Sports. Is he leaving? Is he going? Does he want trophies? What's kind of your stance on it, Antony? What do you kind of take from it?
So I'm glad you brought this up because last week, Monday, I had started to record a video talking about, I think it was Ornstein saying that Harry Kane is going to leave. Because on Sunday night, he had made some sort of statement that Harry Kane was going to leave. And I'm not joking. That day, he said he's going to stay. And so within 24 hours, the same reporter had said that Harry Kane is leaving and Harry Kane is staying. And I just was like, I can't even use the article from 24 hours ago to make this video. And so I was like so frustrated. I just scrapped the whole thing. I'm working on a new one. But I do think that it's definitely for clicks. It's the only thing. It's not the only thing to talk about, but it's an easy thing to talk about because you get all of us Spurs fans riled up, but then you also get, the big names from all over the big clubs from all over the world, supporters of those clubs clicking on those links because it's like, oh man, maybe Harry Kane could come to wherever, Real Madrid, Bayern, or whatever. And it's just like, they're just doing it for the clicks. And I'm really disappointed in Ornstein because I actually like The Athletic. I subscribe to their stuff and usually enjoy reading what they write. But when you do that back to back, it's like, come on.
Give it a rest sort of thing.
Yeah. There's got to be something else to talk about. Roy Keane. I mean, there's got to be something else.
I know, you'd think there would, wouldn't there? But it's just easy journalism, I guess. It's just, let's regurgitate the same thing all the time. Because like you said, it's just clickbait.
Right.
With that being said, do you think maybe Kane is set to leave? What's your kind of look at it? Do you think he's just Mr. Tottenham Hotspur and he won't go? I
honestly don't think. There have been times where I've been more scared. I should say that. I think that it's always a possibility that he just takes his future in his hands and goes to Daniel Levy and says, I want to be let go. I want to be sent somewhere else. But he knows, I think, who he's dealing with in Daniel Levy, that it's not like he can just go for a pittance. Daniel Levy's going to want every dollar that he can get. And so I don't feel as scared about this summer. I will say, though, the following summer, if we still have not seen any silverware, I will be more concerned. And one thing that I was discussing with someone else was that I'm actually more concerned if we win the League Cup. Because if we win the League Cup, he can say that he won silverware, and then he can make that move. And with a huge payday, it's like he's won. He's in the finals. He can, he could try to stay in the Premier League and still go after Shearer's record, which I think is actually one of his top targets as well. So I would be more concerned if we had been more successful this year. I think he really loves Spurs, and that's what I love about him. But what about you? Do you think he leaves this summer?
It's so difficult. I wish I could get in the mind of Harry Kane because, like you said, if he's going to go anywhere, I'd like to put to bed the rumours of going abroad because I don't think that's for him. I honestly think with his family and everything, it would have to be a club in the UK. And like you said, he's trying to chase that Shearer golden boot. So if that's got anything to play for it, I mean, the only club I could really see him going to in terms of Daniel Levy letting him go to because of money would be City. I think they're the only ones that could pay for him. And like I said, under Pep, who knows what Harry Kane could achieve. But again, it's whether he wants to stay at Tottenham and become Mr. Tottenham. But if it was me, I'd probably look back at my career and be like, what have I won? I've won all these golden boots, but nothing else. So I think it really depends where he is really in his head.
Totally. And actually that's this video that I'm going to be posting soon is talking a little bit about that. Like in the United States, we have Hall of Fames, right? We have a baseball Hall of Fame and a football Hall of Fame and a basketball Hall of Fame. And I don't think you guys have that. And so it only matters about trophies that you win. But we have guys like there's a guy that played football. His name's Barry Sanders that played for the Detroit Lions. He didn't win anything, but he was a Hall of Famer because what he did on the field was unmatched for the seasons that he was there. And I feel like, when sometimes I see the Twitter and I'm just like, you guys, this is your generational talent. This is it. Like you are watching greatness. Every week you have the opportunity to watch greatness. And the way people just crap on him sometimes and just say he's unsuccessful blows my mind.
It is mad. And it's like you said, we're probably living through, say, the best striker of my time anyway.
Totally.
and it's going to fly us by because we're
Yep.
so concerned about whether he's going to leave next summer or not because we haven't won anything with him. It is scary to think of it like that. It's kind of like, I want to kind of talk about what Phil says, the fact that he doesn't think Daniel Levy's going to let him go purely because he won't get the money he wants for him. And I think that is kind of true. Like, we've all kind of set our sights on how much he's worth, and
totally,
it's a madness.
Oh yeah, I mean, Levy wouldn't let Danny Rose go. Okay, so if Danny Rose money isn't coming in, Harry Kane money is never coming in. You know, I don't think what he means to this club. You talk about shirt sales, you talk about just his character at the club. It would be a huge loss, not just to the talent on the field. I think it would be a huge, just a colossal loss all around.
That's the thing. I think he's kind of the backbone at the moment. And once he's gone, like we've seen him play so differently this season, dropping back and possessing that creative play. And like we said, after Eriksen left, I don't think we really replaced Eriksen really. So we've kind of seen Kane add that to his game. Something that Tony said here about Jose, where he's in potentially his last year of current contract. I mean, I kind of see what you're saying. I don't think Jose Mourinho was here for long term. I just think that's how it is. I think with Jose, we kind of came to a stage with Poch, it came stale. And we thought, if we bring Jose in, okay, players are either going to lump it or leave it. And I think that's kind of something we needed. We tried the project, didn't work, came to the end of it. We've tried someone that's a serial winner, shall we say. And I don't know whether it's going to work yet because we haven't really seen enough of it. But it's a difficult one. What's your kind of stance on Jose at the moment?
Yeah, so I think Jose has failed to deliver what I hoped he would deliver, but I still would give him some more time. So, you know, dropping out of the Europa League was just brutal. I feel like I don't know how that happens. At the same time, I do feel like there's this air of the last few weeks of Pochettino that I just sense that around our club right now. It's like, this is what happened to Poch, and Poch lost his job. Why is not Jose losing his job? But I think that the two were brought in for two different projects and two different reasons. And so when you start to look at, you know, not just the last few weeks of Pochettino, but even our run up to the Champions League, I think we only had won maybe one game in like 6 or 7 games leading up to that. And then we started the season so poorly. It more forced Daniel Levy's hand than for Jose, who is really still starting a project. He's in a COVID season. So it's very different in terms of the and when I say that, I mean it as the number of fans in the stands, the number of events that would have been happening that didn't happen. I think Daniel Levy thought he was going to have that, you know, big money to spend. And so he brought in Jose to start to spend that big money. And then the stadium emptied.
Yeah, it's for me, it's just kind of like that Spurs coincidence. Like, it's just our luck that it just hasn't really happened.
Yeah. I mean, you build the state-of-the-art stadium, largest in London, and you're not even allowed to put a single human in it. It's just crazy.
It's a madness. Again, it's wrong moment, wrong time. And kind of what Eduardson's saying here about the fact that it's the rebuild morale. And I think that was a key thing because, like you touched on the Europa League game, I don't think that was necessarily Jose's fault. I think the players just didn't bother turning up because that was the same pretty much team that he put out in the first leg. So with that kind of this stance, do you think, like you said, the players aren't playing for Jose, or do you think it's just this dead wood is kind of bringing down the morale of the whole team?
I think it's a bit of a combination. I think Jose is looking for a very specific kind of player, and you could see that in the transfer market from last summer. I mean, all of these people had won trophies somewhere. They were high caliber leaders. And, you know, when you think of some of the guys that aren't performing for us right now, I don't know, I wouldn't call them like mentally weak or anything like that. But I do think that, you know, Jose, he expects something out of you and he wants to stir something up in you. And it's different from like Harry Redknapp. I think he even said that on an interview. Like, a guy like Gareth Bale, you need to just give him confidence. Just keep giving him praise and heap on that praise to get him motivated to keep working. Whereas, you know, someone like Harry Kane doesn't need that. You just give him that challenge, or Højbjerg. It's probably more of like that reverse psychology. Like, you're never going to win this. It just makes them even more wanting to win it. And so I think, that some guys do well with that with Jose, and then other guys they're losing it. And I think they need to go.
And I think one of those people, I mean, someone's already said it in the chat that the Winks doll needs to go. And I'm getting on the verge of wanting to chuck it off the skywalk. I'm not going to lie to you. It's getting to that stage. But the likes of Harry Winks, I don't know what's gone wrong. I really don't. He's fallen off a cliff. Now, do you think that's probably because he's had the likes of Poch, who was a father figure to someone like Jose, who pretty much tells you how it is? Do you think that's maybe where it's gone wrong?
I think that's part of it. Again, I am trying to humanize these people we watch on TV all the time. And I just wonder, with everything else going on, and, Harry, to me, seems like someone that overdoes it. When he's, kind of behind the 8 ball with his career, he's going to do too much. Instead of going back to the basics of like simple passes, he's hitting crosses that are so overhit, they go in the back of the net. I mean, that was like, it's just so Harry Winks. And it's unfortunate that he doesn't have, it might be good for Jose. Maybe that's why he brought in like a Ledley King, to have that little more of a sentimental value, to say, hey, dude, just keep working, relax, it's going to be okay. Because Jose is definitely not that guy. And I don't think Harry Winks recovers. I think he will be sold this summer. I think he should be sold this summer to get, better value for him.
And that's the thing. I mean, there's rumours flying around that obviously we're going to sell a big name. Now, those big names are supposedly Kane and Son, but do you think it could be Dele Alli? Do you think Dele Alli could be out the door? Yeah,
I do. So I was going through this on the Discord server that we have, and it was just talking about, I think you could let go of Harry Winks, and you could let go of Dele Alli, and you could bring up guys. Well, you could bring back Ryan Sessegnon, and you could bring back Oliver Skipp, and there's your 2 players, in terms of, Europa League squads. So I think you could bring those 2 back and make it happen. The biggest concern I have for the summer is Heung-min Son, because he hasn't nailed down his contract. He's worth mega money, and he could fund, a couple center backs coming in, and that would be, I don't know. It's one of those things where, you just go back to that scene in the Amazon docuseries where, Daniel Levy says, "Time will tell if I've made the right decision." It's like, dude, I'm so sick of time will tells.
I know, I'm going to be 90 by the time we do something. I mean, it's a bit like Dier said about 10 years ago, around like tanker in the Suez Canal. I mean, pretty much it's grounded the old bloody time, isn't it? But thanks for that, Dier. That's made me chuckle. But with Dele Alli, obviously, I said in the January transfer window, I think it would have been perfect for him to send him out on loan to PSG.
Yeah, totally.
I think it would have been perfect because he would have reunited with Poch, he would have got the confidence back, he'd be playing, and the most important thing is he'd be in that shop window. Yeah. And now, once again, the club are going to be reactive rather than proactive. Now, would you rather see Dele shifted out the door, or would you like to see him on a loan deal?
That's a good question, because I feel like my gut instinct is to send him out on a permanent. Just see what you can get, for him, and send him out, because at this moment. And even under Pochettino, I felt like sometimes he would just disappear. And I don't know. I certainly don't think that he and Jose get along. And I don't know if whoever comes.
Oh. Has he gone? Has he disappeared? Hello, Antony.
Who's in next? I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Oh, I'm so sorry about that. Anyway, I was just saying, I don't think Jose is going to be here for, more than his contract. And so I don't know if the next person coming in, though, is going to be speaking Dele's language either. Like, I don't know who that person is except for Pochettino.
It's so difficult. I think Dele he thrives off motivation, and I just don't think it is with him at the moment. I mean, John said here about he cares about talent for pictures and social media, and playing for club and badge and fans is fact. I mean, I can kind of see that. I mean, the way I kind of look at it, I think he's a bit like, I feel like Troy Parrott is growing into a Dele Alli. Now, I don't want to sell it too much, but I kind of see the resemblance in a sense that I feel like Dele Alli is more concerned about his image or his, I don't know how to word it. You know what I mean? Rather than kicking the ball on the
pitch. That boohoo man picture. Man. Yeah, dude. I totally, I agree with you. I think what Jose hoped, though, was that would change. I think that he would hope, like, hey, just treat this guy like an adult. Just say, like, dude, you got to figure that out, and it's got to come from you. I'm not gonna force desire out of you. And I hear what you're saying about Troy Parrott too. I wonder if, these loan spells and them not working out so well ends up being a catalyst for him to say like, hey, I really do have to work if I'm going to break into this first team.
I mean, that's the thing, because we all kind of forget how young Dele Alli was when he came to Spurs.
Yeah.
He probably thought he had it made. And now that players come in that are proving their worth, he's just kind of like, well, I don't need to try because I'm starting every week sort of thing. And I think it's coming to bite on the bum pretty much.
Totally.
But it is an interesting one with Dele Alli. I mean, I just want to touch on, obviously, some players that I thought this season have actually done pretty well, considering I probably wanted them out the door last season. That is probably Lucas Moura. So what's your take on Lucas so far this season?
Yeah, Lucas Moura. I mean, I feel like when Lucas scored that hat trick in the Champions League, I was like, and this is when we need to sell him. And that's the worst thing to say, right? Because he becomes like a legend, but it's like top dollar. This is it. Like, this is when he's worth the most. And he kind of fell off and disappeared. And I don't know if he really knew his role, but it sounds like his role in the locker room is huge. And especially when it comes to Carlos Vinicius. But I think he's now showing on the field his importance as well. And so he's able to come in and I'll never let Lucas. I know I don't want to let him go either. Like, I love him. Like his videos, coins, like all that stuff. I mean, he's just a joy. He's just a joy for the club. But yeah, so I regret having thought that, because I think he has totally, come around and shown his worth, his work ethic. And I think for those younger guys, I think he's a great example for what it means to be a team player.
I totally get that, because I was exactly the same. I was getting to the stage where all he does is run into players, doesn't read the ball early enough, and you think to yourself, what on earth are you doing? But it's just a totally different player this season. I don't know whether that's because of Jose, but he just seems to run his legs off all the time. What do you make? Obviously, we know the partnership of Vinny and Lucas. Do you think Vinny is the type of backup striker we've been missing, or do you think we could probably do better?
Of course, I think there's people that probably could come in and do better, but the problem is, do they come and sit behind Harry Kane? I don't think that happens. I don't think Carlos Vinicius is worth the 45 million or whatever his release clause is, or whatever his loan agreement is. I don't think he's worth that. I do think that he has done the best of any backup striker since Harry Kane has become our first striker. I mean, it's not even close. I was going back to like, who was our top striker before Harry Kane? It was Emmanuel Adebayor, and that name seems so long ago. So to have this guy scoring goals, and I know the talent hasn't been as great, when you think about League Cup and FA Cup and stuff like that, or Europa, but he's now scored his first goal in the Premier League. It's like he's scored in every competition. I would love to see Jose, utilize him in these last few games, but still keeping our hopes set on breaking into the top 6 and maybe even the top 4.
I mean, I'm glad you've touched on that, because obviously it's been a mad season. I haven't been able to even predict it whatsoever. Do you think that hopefully top 4 is still on? I mean, it's not impossible, but obviously that relies on people above us. Do you think the people above us slip up?
Yeah, I don't know. It's not impossible. It's not impossible. And that's what that's what our whole club is about, is believing. And I just feel like I do believe. I mean, Leicester have they've shown at the ends of seasons where they'll just kind of fall. Of course, they didn't fall the time that we wanted to beat them, but the one time. But I do think that they've shown you kind of a mental breakdown at the end of a season. And Chelsea, I don't think they've had a goal scored against them in the Premier League since they've had a new hire for management. So it's only Leicester that I think has their spot to lose. I see us probably being in the top 6 though, if I have to be like honest with myself, but I still want to hope for top 4.
Oh yeah, definitely, without a doubt. I mean, I thought Europa League was going to be our saviour season, and that's kind of in the bin now. That's the thing. It's just so difficult to be able to sit here and be like, I don't know whether maybe not having Champions League football or European football next year, I know it sounds horrendous, but do you reckon that might kick either Daniel Levy and the board up the bum basically to go out and do something, or do you think they just won't bother about it?
So I don't think so. Sadly, I just don't think everything I've ever seen of Daniel Levy is a balanced budget, and I think he was trying to offer like an olive branch by last summer's spending, which is terrible to even say because it wasn't a lot. I mean, it was like 65 million. So when I hear like Chelsea fans talking about how much we spent, we didn't spend much. We got a lot. We got 7 players, but we did not spend hardly anything. It was like 200 million that they spent. So I do not think that Daniel Levy will overspend ever. I do think that I think I saw there was like a rumor that potentially British Airways might be coming in to get in some naming rights. That might help. But I think it's going to be outgoings. It's going to be selling the likes of potentially Dele Alli, Harry Winks, and seeing what they can get, and then trying to turn that around, for a different kind of player.
That's the thing, and it is so frustrating again because these players, I don't think really any side are going to pay big money for them. And that's the thing.
No.
You can't just let it get so stale. It's
Yep.
so frustrating. And that's the thing. I mean, obviously, the biggest thing about our team at the moment is this defence.
Yep.
Now, I don't want to name call, but I think you kind of know which player I'm going to talk about. The one that turns like a tank and doesn't jump. But many times it's quite versatile because he can play 2 positions, and that is Eric Dyer. So, on the terms of Eric Dyer, Antony, what's your take on him?
Yeah, I think he's caught in 2 minds. I think he wants to play center back. He wants to, but he doesn't. And he doesn't have that commanding presence. I think, the partnership between Davidson and Toby, it's starting to work because I think in the same way that Jan Vertonghen was kind of that commander of the center back pairing with him and Davinson Sanchez, I think it worked. I don't think Eric Dyer has that confidence or that know-how to direct traffic very well, and because he himself doesn't have the right movement. So it's crazy, but I think he's another one. And all of these guys play for England. That's what's just insane. But it's just, you've got Dyer, you've got Harry Winks, and you've got Dele Alli. I feel like these guys are, guys that can make your England squad, but they're just kind of like in the middle of that squad. They're not that top talent.
I mean, that's the thing. I don't even know how Southgate's even chose Dyer. Like, I don't know what's been running through his brain. The fact that he'll choose Dyer but won't choose Trent, but he said he's chosen Dyer because of form. And I'm thinking to myself, do you watch football?
Yeah, he couldn't have.
That's the thing. I don't understand it.
He says form because he thinks he's good looking or something, but it's not based on his play.
God knows with Southgate. I really don't know. I mean, John's come up here with a quote about Dyer, Davies, and Sanchez need to get rid of. Now, I'm stuck in 2 minds with Sanchez because I've sat here and thought the man's an idiot. He dive bombs on the floor and heads the grass and eats the grass. But like you said with Toby, he's been doing all right. Now, I think that's really because, like we said, Toby is that commanding presence. And I think Dyer's ego with Sanchez or Dyer's ego with Toby doesn't really compute very well.
Yeah.
So that being said, do you think Sanchez deserves a place next season, or would you shift him out the door?
I would give him one more season. And it's partly because he's young. I can't remember how old he was when we got him. And I still think he has opportunity to grow. Whereas I don't know if I see that with Eric Dyer. The other thing is, I don't think Daniel Levy will sell our record-breaking transfer, defender. And so, again, that goes back to the ego of our board and Daniel Levy. But I just don't see us actually selling him just yet.
And that's the thing, because I don't think, like you said, we really have the funds to be picky and choosy. And
No.
that's the problem.
Nope.
I mean, like we said, I've always said Davinson Sanchez gets us out of that trouble because he's quick.
Yeah.
And he just doesn't have that awareness, I feel. But like that might come with age, maybe. That might come from playing constantly and things like that. But with the likes of, say, Davies, do you think, for me, I think Davies deserves a bench in the squad. And I think we've only seen a lot of him this season. because Reguilon's been injured. Do you think
Yeah.
we need to shift Davies out, or do you think we just need to keep him because we don't really have the funds to shift all these players out?
It's interesting because so I have seen, Ben Davies as very consistent. I thought he was even earlier on in the season, I thought he was more consistent than Sergio Reguilon, just because Reguilon would do some things sometimes where you're just like, oh my gosh, don't do that. But then again, with his pace, he's able to get back and get out of trouble. But then Davies kind of fell off. But I forget what match it was. It might have been just this last match against Villa. Dude, he came on as a sub, and he looked like the Ben Davies that played under Pochettino. He was pressing, he was getting down, he was getting crosses in. It was like, where's that guy been? If he can play like that, he deserves a spot on the bench. And I do think Sergio Reguilon is the left back of the future for us. But if he's just kind of like mediocre, again, it's like I would rather. It's like sometimes you think I'll take the devil I know instead of the devil I don't know. I'm kind of like, dude, give me the devils I don't know, because all these guys are just killing us in terms of what looks like work ethic. It's like, dude, if you don't even have the work ethic, why are you on the pitch?
I mean, I think that's the same. I know he keeps saying it. It's Sissoko. I mean, I do see where he's coming from, because I think was it the Villa game or the game before? I can't really remember. There's been so much time.
Yeah, right.
But you saw the likes of, I think it was the Villa game, you saw the likes of Rodon, you saw Tanganga, they're putting their bodies on the line, and you just see him running across into the box, like just sticking that leg out. And you think to yourself, hang on a minute, mate, you need to be proving your worth that you want to be in this side. And I'm not really seeing that from him. So what's your thoughts on Sissoko?
Yeah, I think it's like the Dele thing. It's like Sissoko was Pochettino's player. Like Sissoko came in and was awful. I literally felt like he must have had like bricks for boots, because his touch was so terrible. He would receive a ball and it would go like 8 feet. Like, I have a better touch than that. And so I just feel like he became, we started singing, who needs Bale when you've got Sissoko? And so when we brought Bale in, I was like, we've got both. What do you do when you've got both? And unfortunately, I feel like Sissoko's lost it. And I feel like he's lost his place. He used to be in that role where he would kind of track back for Aurier and, really kind of bring the play forward pretty well. And I just don't see him knowing his place in Jose's tactics. And so, yeah, he's another one that I would say, try and find me a different center midfielder, please.
I mean, it's so depressing, isn't it? We're like, let's get rid of them all. They're not good enough. But
well, that's what's so sad. It's like
so stale. It's because we've never had that injection, and I think that's the main thing that I've really seen in the likes of Sergio Aurier. I know we haven't seen him much in recent weeks, but Matt Doherty came in, and I was thinking to myself, right, we've brought in Matt Doherty.
Yep.
He's hopefully better than Sergio Aurier, but it's kind of had the reverse. Sergio Aurier stepped up to the plate to prove a point. And we've seen nothing but, I don't know how to explain him. Like, I just don't get it. So what's your kind of thoughts on that? Do you think maybe it's because we haven't had this fight for competition for place? Some players like Winks have kind of fallen off a cliff where other players have pushed on. Yeah,
no, I totally agree. I think that you bring in Doherty and you see better out of Sergio Aurier. We brought in Tanguy and Dembele. It's like, that's not even a contest. That's not even a contest for, Sissoko. Sissoko just knows he doesn't have a place. Same with Gio Lo Celso. Like, these guys are just coming in. So you have that third role with Harry Winks and Moussa Sissoko, and the two of them they're just, I don't know, they both kind of mentally lose it. Or their touch is just so awful. I don't see how they work themselves back into the squad, or renew their contracts. Like, it's like I don't know how much time is left on Sissoko's contract, but I think he was given a contract like not long ago, and he's past 30. So it's like it's going to be, again, hard to move that guy on. So yeah, I don't think the competition is good enough. Between those two guys, they're not pushing each other.
I mean, I just want to put a flip on it, because I like to hear how other people think about things.
Yeah.
Phil does make a good point. I mean, rather than writing half the squad off, maybe we'd be looking at why they appear to have fallen off a cliff. I mean, I get that, Phil, but I'm also looking at it and thinking to myself, well, there's kind of a pattern going on. We saw it with Poch. They kind of all fell off a cliff and then got Poch sacked. We're kind of seeing the same kind of thing happening again, I think. I honestly, I don't know how you feel, Anthony. I think it's staleness. I honestly think it is.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think, the people that don't like Jose and they talk about the locker room and like the divisiveness and it does seem to be a similar story. He finds, a Paul Pogba, he finds a Tanguy and Dembele and he isolates them out the squad and whatever. And so I can get where that's coming from, but I feel like this is the same thing that happened to Mauricio Pochettino. And so you've got two managers that are amazing. Even if you don't like Jose, you cannot deny what the guy has accomplished. And so when you look at Mauricio Pochettino, again, I would say what he accomplished with the squad that he inherited and then, obviously changed up and took to different like heights that you would never have even dreamed of. It makes me think it's more about the players than it is about the manager.
Yeah, and I kind of feel the same vibe. I mean, for me as a player, I feel like I need that harsh love sometimes. Like if I'm sugarcoated all the time, I don't think I'm doing no wrong. And I think sadly that was kind of Poch's angle, I think, for a lot of his time at Tottenham. And I feel like Jose is looking like the bad guy because he's pretty much telling you how it is. And I just think, like you said, some players that works, some players it doesn't. Yeah. And we've clearly seen some where it hasn't worked. But the like the same guy, we've seen a whole different player from it.
Right.
That's the thing. And that's, for me, I think it's such a bright future having Tanguy and Dembele. What do you think? Do you think the future's bright with that guy in the middle doing his flicks and tricks?
Oh, totally. Yeah, there's so many times where I'm watching the screen with my hands on my head, watching what he's doing. Like, how did you do that? How did you get out of that? How did you get the ball? He is outstanding, and I'm so glad that he's fought for his place again and has kind of that renewed. I think personal energy to get back on the field and do his thing in his way for a guy that he doesn't necessarily always agree with. So yeah, I think that's great. I wish Dele would do the same. I just wish that Dele would do the same.
I don't know what we've got to do to that man to really passion back because
right.
I can't work it out.
Well, part of it too, as we're talking about this, and is it the manager or the players? I think part of it is, you have to remember. I think it was 3 transfer windows. We didn't replace anyone. That's not on Jose. That's on Daniel Levy and Mauricio Pochettino. I think in part because I think Pochettino really wanted a specific kind of player, just like Jose does. And if he didn't feel like personalities would mesh with what he was trying to do, and it wasn't a really coachable player, then he didn't want them. And so we were starving for some sort of, new blood in our squad. And so now we've got finally a transfer window where we did kind of make some big changes. And, think of Paulo Gazzaniga going out and Joe Hart coming in, like even in the goalkeepers. So there have been some changes, but I don't think it's enough to feel like this is a fresh Tottenham Hotspur. It still feels like pretty much Pochettino's squad playing for Jose Mourinho.
100% agree. And it's Phil again. I mean, Phil, we're not disagreeing with you. We're just kind of saying that I think there were 2 different situations, like we said. I mean, Antony, if you want to kind of hit at this one, just to go for it.
Yeah, totally. I think, you are completely right, Phil, in the saying that the same thing happened, I would say probably by year 3. But you're also looking at, I think Jose Mourinho.
Oh. He'll come back.
Is a my back?
Yeah, yes? You're back.
Okay. I saw the spinning wheels. I was like, no. No, but I do think that, like, when you talk about Manchester United, Chelsea, and Madrid, you're talking about mega millions clubs. Like they're spending like crazy. And I think Jose knew that when he was going there. It's just like Pep. Pep went to Manchester City. He didn't go to Shrewsbury. So it's just like there's an understanding of the project that he's taking over. And I think Jose wants to have that kind of a Klopp timeline. And Daniel Levy was intending to give him not Klopp funds, but he was going to give him more funds. But when COVID happens, now there's all sorts of less money to actually spend on players and get deadwood out and bring new players in. So I don't think you're wrong. Of course, there's an element of Jose Mourinho that's in here. I mean, he's our manager. I just don't think he is the problem in our dressing room right now, personally.
I'm the same. Like, I totally get what you're saying, Phil. Like, you you can't be silly and not miss that. I mean, it's evident.
Right.
But like we said, I think Jose isn't the biggest problem. I think there's a lot of things, and I think Jose's the first person we call out because it's the easiest thing to do, I feel. And that's just sad in itself, because we've seen the likes of Hugo Lloris and come out and say that performance was because of other things in the club. I mean, he didn't quite say it like that, but it was kind of the vibe you were getting. I mean, with Hugo Lloris, there's obviously things flying around at the minute that he's out the door. Personally, for me, I don't think we really have I don't know how to say it. I don't think that's the biggest problem to replace right now.
No.
I don't know how you kind of feel. Do you think it would recuperate funds, or do you just think it's just a no-go at the minute?
Honestly, and I love Hugo. I've got a signed shirt with his name on it. And so I think he's been a faithful captain. He's been through hell and back with Spurs. He's been through a bunch of different managers, Tim Sherwood, to say the least. So I just feel like it would be okay to see him leave for a couple different reasons. One, I think his talent could be replaced. We could find someone that's, equal in talent. I also think it's a huge deal to see that armband given to somebody else. And I think that would be huge to take that armband, and everybody probably has their opinion about who they give it to, whether you give it to Pierre, you give it to Harry, you give it to, who do you give it to? I think Harry feels like, how do you not give it to Harry? But I do not think he has that, the voice in the dressing room in the same way that Pierre Højbjerg does, in the way that he's like cheering for free kicks. He just seems to be commanding that midfield. But I do think that would be a huge opportunity to shift the balance of leadership power in that dressing room, to say like, hey, this armband belongs to this man instead, and they kind of have that new voice.
Yeah, 100% agree. I think Harry Kane isn't the man. I mean, after seeing the documentary of him and his team talks, I'm not too convinced, to be honest. But
yeah.
I'm never under the impression that the striker should be the captain, personally. No. I think it needs to be someone, like you said, whether it's Hugo or not, I'm not too sure about it. But I think Højbjerg is probably the man for us. Like you said, the passion just oozes from him. Totally. I mean, we've had another comment from Phil. I mean, Phil, we know you're not a complete Jose out fan. We're just kind of trying to attack it from both angles, because we don't want to sit here and just disreplicate, I can't say the word, get rid of your comment and just ignore it, because that's not kind of, I want to kind of talk through it. It's nice to actually see what other people think and things. And I never really thought of it kind of like that. Here we go. There's another one from Phil. Do you think Jose stays regardless of how we are at the end of the season? What's your? This is quite a big question. How are you kind of feeling?
So, this is actually, I think, a test of Daniel Levy, because he has spent so much money for Jose to come in, and if we don't win the League Cup, it's going to be super disappointing. I feel like a trophy was expected this season. I was expecting a piece of silverware, and if we don't get one, I think that really will test Daniel Levy to see maybe what you were saying, like, will this force him, kick him in the pants, to actually spend and say, I'm going to back you, and you have no right at the end of next season to not perform? Like, you have to. Or does he tuck tail and, sack Jose Mourinho? But then who do you bring in? I just don't know who you bring in.
The bigger question is, who will want to come? That's the bigger thing.
Totally.
Right.
Well, who will want to come and also not and have the same issues of transfers? It's like the manager could come in, but if they can't make the team their own, what are you doing?
They're just stuck in an awful circle. I've said this every time. Every time this happens, it's let's blame the easiest person that we first see, and that's the manager. It's never people ahead of us. But
totally.
I mean, this guy has been flying around like there's nobody's business. Nagelsmann. Now, I know we need another rebuild. Whether I want to sit through another rebuild is another matter. Do you think Nagelsmann will want to come to Spurs, and do you think it's probably the right place for him, or do you think, again, there's no investment, why bother?
I don't want to see that personally, because I just feel like we are on the cusp of challenging, and we're right around there. Yes, we've fallen off. We did change managers. But I do feel like if you bring in a Nagelsmann, you lose a Harry Kane.
Yeah.
Because Harry Kane has to know that trophies are not right around the corner. They are 5 or 6 years from now, and he will be an old man in terms of the sport by the time that happens. I was talking to a friend from Michigan. We in one of our baseball teams, the Detroit Tigers, went to the World Series, and we had the best pitchers, and they both went on in the subsequent following seasons, and they won the World Series with other teams. And I'm like, I don't want that to happen for Spurs. I don't want us to get to this place where we say, well, this is as far as we could go, and we just stopped just short. This is a team that I do think it's missing maybe 3 or 4 pieces, solid starting 11 pieces.
It's all right, guys. He'll be back in a minute. He's doing his wearing business.
Hello.
There we go. He's back.
You know what? It's the Atlantic Ocean. I'm blaming it on the distance. But anyway, I was just saying that a manager is not going to get us over the hump in a short amount of time. We're looking at 4, 5, 6 years if we replace the manager.
I mean, that's the thing. Maybe this Kane rumor isn't all rumors. Maybe it is like you just said. If he's thinking, or he's had a talk with Levin, he's like, I need to get someone new in, and he's thinking to himself, oh no, it's another project. I'm not going to stick around. But Who knows where his head is? I mean, Ed Watson's proper put you in the mud there. He says you're hiding that rose, basically. You've gone missing. Oh no, you've been put in the mud there. Quality stuff.
I'll take it.
I mean, I'm going to quickly touch on, obviously, the cup final. Now, after that North London derby, I am never taking form into a one-off game ever again, because that's the first time I've ever felt confident. And, well, we all know how that ends. So with this City game coming up in the cup final, do you think we've probably got a chance to win it?
We've got a puncher's chance. What I mean by that is like we have the power to knock them out. We've beaten them before. We've got, if Sonny's fit, if Harry's fit, we have.
The ocean is definitely causing a problem.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry about this.
That's all right.
But anyway, I just think we have the power to beat them, but we're going to need them to give us a mistake. If we can capitalize on a mistake that they make, we can win it. If they don't make any mistakes, they're so good. I just don't see us breaking them down with the mental fragility that we're seeing.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. It's that confidence thing, and the fact that, I don't know, we just don't have it within us, I feel, in recent weeks. Obviously, that Europa League game was a big game. We fluffed it up. The North London derby is probably the best we've ever sat going into it, and we fluffed it up again. So it's just a hard one to kind of pinpoint it. But the one man I'd kind of want to lead out that team, the man who's done it so many different times, is Jose Mourinho. So with that within play, do you think it could become a little easier, or do you think because of City's pure strength at the moment all over the park, it's going to be difficult regardless? But do you think we might have the edge over Pep, say?
I would have if we could have done it on other lesser games. Like you're talking about the North London derby, you're talking about the Europa League second leg. It's like those should be games where we're walking out determined to win. And that's what's making me kind of say, I don't really know. But yeah, Jose, a final, you would think he should be able to lead out a squad to do that. So I don't know. What about you though? Do you think that it's possible that we just show our strength?
I mean, it is possible.
Yes.
But then our strength has been in the bin for these big games. And that's the thing that really stresses me out. I mean, I'd love to sit here and say, this is it. This is going to be when we're going to win a trophy. Yeah. I mean, we're all going to get the banter because it's the tin pot anyway. But just to get a trophy, I mean, the only trophy I've seen is the 2008 League Cup and the Audi Cup, if we're going to count that one.
Yeah, right.
So for me, we've got to do it. We have got to go out there and to win it. What is this about? What's Mr. K said? Do you feel that normal manager will not have lasted as long as Jose this season. Jose may pull off the cup final. I believe that's his joker card. Oh, what do you think? I think that's a good question.
A normal manager would have lasted as long. I don't think so. Yeah, I think if it was anybody else other than Jose, I think no. But I think that's because of how much Daniel Levy is putting his stock in Jose Mourinho. This is egg on Daniel Levy's face if this doesn't work. It goes back to the statement I said of we'll have to see if this works out, and we are seeing right now it semi working out. It's not really working out the way we had planned. So I do not think anybody would have lasted as long other than Jose Mourinho or I don't think any other manager would have lasted this long. Do you think they would last this long?
I really don't know, to be honest, because we'd be turning into the likes of Arsenal that would sack a manager every 5 minutes. Do you know what I mean? Or other teams around us that have been doing that, likes of Chelsea. So
yep.
I don't think Levy could stomach it. Like you said, I think it's his ego and his pride. I don't think he could necessarily be like, I've only had this manager since the start of the season. I'm going to sack him like. Not at the time when we had that bit of downfall, it's just after January. So I couldn't see it, to be honest. I really couldn't. So it's hard to say, obviously, whether if it was another manager, they'd get the sack. It's just too difficult. I think it's Levy's pride that kind of takes over, if that makes a sense.
Yeah.
But I've really enjoyed this, Antony. This has been brilliant. It's been good. We'll have to definitely do this again.
Yes. Sorry for the connection issues, but thanks so much for having me on. I really, really had fun.
Oh, that's all right. I mean, thanks to everyone else that has watched. If you haven't subscribed, please do. But more importantly, Antony, where can everybody find your content? Oh, yes. You can find me at Let's Talk Tottenham on YouTube or at Let's_Talk_THFC on Twitter and Spurs Appetit on TikTok. Sometimes I make a TikTok video here and there. I love it. And you guys need to go check out the one video that, well, there's 2 videos actually. The first one being that BTS video with Sonny. So that is still my favourite video on YouTube. I swear to God. You all need to check that out. And obviously, your one where you were the American Premier League fan. Yeah, that super fan. Yeah, thanks. So make sure you all go check out that video because literally I was in awe the whole time. So well, thanks so much. Yeah, this was great. Yeah, thank you everyone for watching. That's all right. Right. Thank you, everyone. And thanks again, Antony. I'll be back for the Newcastle game, obviously, Hollie's Hotspurs straight after. So hopefully I will see you all then soon. But until next time, come on, you Spurs. Come on, you Spurs.